Hello, Michel Juvet.
Hello.
Economic growth seems favorable, yet we've had a weak first quarter. Why is that?
Well, it's a soft patch. The indication we have now show that it's going to be stronger again in the next few quarters. And probably the economic growth for the United States will be about 2.5 to 3%, in Europe 2 to 2.5, and in the emerging countries above the 5%. So it's a positive economic growth for this year again.
Last fall, during your economic perspective for 2018, you already talked about the high debt level, which was a worry. Today, it's a real menace, particularly private debt. Why is that?
That is correct. We have two kinds of debts, the public debt and the private debt. On the public side, we still have a problem because it has been rising since 2007-8. So we have a massive public debt, and on top of that, we have an increase of the private debt issued by the corporations, particularly in the United States. And we have seen a lot of corporations with bad balance sheet. We have increased the debt level. So in a meaning that they're becoming fragile in this environment of rising interest rates.
So does that mean we're going towards a recession?
Not yet. There are plenty of factors pushing for a recession, but they're not here yet. And one of these factors to watch closely is what we call the inversion of the yield curve. That is when the short-term interest rate goes above the long-term interest rate. I suppose it's going to happen at the end of this year, which means the recession, if we have one, will happen at the end of 2019. But on top of that, there is another question related to the public debt. With the rising public debt, that means that this government, when we'll have a recession, will have no more means to stimulate the economy. So it's going to be complicated.
Higher interest rates is one threat, but there is another one looming, and that is protectionism.
That is true. Everybody remembers what happened in the 30s, between 1929 and 1932. The trade collapsed by 2/3, and the economic growth collapsed as well in the same time. So it's a massive threat, and that is why people are very worried by these different trade attacks between the States, China, and Europe.
Yes, and there is currently a lot of talk about a trade war between China, the United States, and Europe. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I suppose that everybody knows that we shouldn't go in this direction. So I suppose that Donald Trump is very keen in making threats, but he doesn't want to go that far. Yet that was his way of managing crisis in the world. He's bringing people, he's bluffing a lot, and finally he negotiates. So that means probably he helps to move lines, and probably Chinese will have to adapt to this new situation. But I don't think we're going to have a massive trade war, because it's not the interest of nobody here.
On a global perspective, tensions are easing between North and South Korea, but they are imminent between Iran and the rest of the world. So what's going to happen?
That is correct as well. I think it's welcome what's going on in Korea, but it's a local problem or local benefit. Only Japan or Korea will benefit from this new situation. Now, in Iran is different, because Iran is at the center of a geopolitical problem. Now, if Mr. Trump really wants to get out of this agreement with Iran, that means the Iranians will probably reduce their oil exports, and that will push up the price of oil all over the world. And at the same time, probably it will increase all the threats and provoke a sort of instability in the region, and that is bad for the oil price as well. And when oil prices rise, this is really bad for consumers, and this is bad for the economic growth. So we have to be very careful.
Thank you, Michel Juvet.
Thank you.